there is one question asked in previous exam, that is the class 1 is pH dependent. Why it is pH dependent? So as we know that if drug has to pass the cell membrane which is lipophilic, the drug must be in the unionized form. If it is unionized form, it can cross the membrane. Okay, and second thing, if it is ionized form regarding sodium channel, then only it can block the sodium channel, so it can bind to the sodium channel. So when drug enters, it will undergo ionization reaction. If alkali condition is there, it undergo deionization and it will form unionized drug. So if unionized drug is present, it can easily cross this membrane. If this drug is present, it cannot cross the membrane. So outside the cell there must be the alkaline condition, so that the ionized drug, it will converted into the unionized form which can be crossed membrane. Now when it enters into the cell, if it has to block the sodium channel, it has to be present in the ionized form. And when it will present in the ionized form, when there is a acidic condition is present. So when acidic condition is present, unionized form reacts with H plus, it will form the ionized form and it can block the sodium channel. That's why for the class 1 to act as a sodium channel blocker outside the cell, they require alkaline condition. Inside the cell, they require the acidic condition, that is they are pH dependent. Okay, similar mechanism of local anesthetic, they are having the similar type of mechanism. Then next question, predict the structure of at least two phase metabolite, label them as active and inactive. So this is lignocaine. Okay, so at third position there is this position, they are free, so they can undergo 3-hydroxy lignocaine hydrogylation at 3 position, and then they undergo N-deethylation to form 3-hydroxy monoethyl glycine xylidine. If both are present, it becomes diethyl. So only the one deethylation takes place, so it is the monoethyl. So that is the one way. Second way, directly deethylation takes place. One of the ethyl group removes, so you are getting this type of structure. So it is monoethylene glycine xylidine, MEGX. Okay, and after that there is a amide linkage is present. So this amide, it undergo hydrolysis reaction to form acid separate and amine separate. So this acid is N-ethyl glycine, this amine is 2,6-xylidine, or again it undergo deethylation to produces the glycine xylidine. Both the ethyl groups are removed. Okay, so that is the metabolism of lignocaine. Then discuss mechanism of these three. Next question, classify these drugs based on their mechanism of action. So calcium channel blockers, sodium channel blockers, potassium channel blockers, or beta blockers, that you have to classify. Okay, quinidine is sodium channel blocker, so you can say quinidine class 1A sodium channel blockers. Verapamil calcium channel blockers. Okay, like this you have to write down. Lignocaine is antiarrhythmic and local anesthetic. So we have seen that it blocks the sodium channel. So sodium ची entry ही, okay. So lignocaine block सोडियम चॅनेल. सो सोडियमची एंट्री ही सेल मध्ये होत नाही. सोडियमची एंट्री सेल मध्ये झाली नाही, बाहेर पॉझिटिव्ह चार्ज राहतो, आतमध्ये निगेटिव्ह चार्ज राहतो. सो रेस्टिंग स्टेट आहे ती आहे तशी राहते. सो इट प्रोलॉंग द रेस्टिंग स्टेट. रेस्टिंग स्टेट कधी कमी होते, जर ड्रग हा डिपोलराइज असेल तर. डिपोलराइज कधी होईल, सोडियम आत आल्यावर बाहेरचा पॉझिटिव्ह चार्ज कमी होईल, आतला निगेटिव्ह चार्ज कमी होईल, त्यानंतरच त्याचं डिपोलरायझेशन होईल. पण यामध्ये बाहेर पॉझिटिव्ह चार्ज जास्त असतो, आतमध्ये निगेटिव्ह चार्ज जास्त असतो आणि दोघांच्या मधला डिफरन्स हा जास्त असतो. हेन्स इट कॅन ब्लॉक the conduction of impulse. How it can block? By blocking the sodium channel, the membrane remains in the polarized state. And when it is polarized state, it is the resting state. There is no transfer of impulses from one cell into the another cell. So it acts as a local anesthetic. Local anesthetic मध्ये काय होतं? Impulses brain पर्यंत जाऊन द्यायचे नसतात. So we can stop the impulses to reach to the brain by making it the polarized state, by making it in the resting state. ओके, लोकल अनेस्थेटिक म्हणजे काय? भूल देतो आपण. कशासाठी देतो? की जे आपल्याला पेन होतं ते होऊ नये. पेन कधी होतं? आपल्याला एका ठिकाणी कापलं असेल, तिथले इम्पल्सेस जर ब्रेनला गेले तरच पेन होतं. ते कापलेलं असेल आणि ते इम्पल्सेस ब्रेनला गेले नाहीत, तुम्हाला पेन होत नाही. सो सिमिलरली लिग्नोकेन जरी आपल्याला कापलं तरी ते इम्पल्सेस ब्रेन पर्यंत जाऊ देत नाही. सो इन दिस वे लिग्नोकेन ऍक्ट एज बोथ antiarrhythmic as well as the local anesthetic. Classify antiarrhythmic agents, two chemical class of calcium channel blockers, chemical class agents. Okay, so this is about the question which are asked in the previous exams. Now we will move to the next chapter, that is the next part of the drugs acting on cardiovascular system, and that is vasodilator and or symphatolytics. Okay, as the name indicates, there are two different parts. That is, the vasodilator is different, symphatolytic is different. Okay, so the vasodilator, they are responsible for the directly dilating the vessels. Symphatolytics, they are also responsible for the dilatation of vessels, but they are indirectly acting on the vessels so that the blood vessels or the vessels can be dilated. Okay, so as the name indicates, vasodilators, it is divided into two parts, that is the vaso and dilators. So vaso means vessels, dilator means which can dilate the vessels. Okay, so the drugs which are responsible for the dilatation of the vessels, they are called as vasodilators. Here the second part, that is the symphatolytic, it also having the two parts, symphato and lytic. Symphato, that is the symphatic system, lytic means breakdown. So the symphatomimetics or symphatomimetics, that means the agonist or which are given to produce the similar kind of effect like adrenaline. So that is the symphatomimetics. Symphatolytics, it is completely opposite. They are the inhibitors, they are the blockers. Okay, so when the symphatolytic drugs are given, they block the adrenergic nervous system. Okay, it may be the alpha blockers or it may be the beta blockers. So these symphatomimetic systems or these receptors, that is the alpha beta receptors, they are present in the heart muscles, in the blood vessels, smooth muscles. Okay, so what happens? They are responsible for the contraction of these heart muscles or the blood vessels. But when we are giving the lytic drugs, that is the inhibitors, this their activity is inhibited. That is their contraction of the heart muscles. Okay, that activity or the smooth muscles, contraction of smooth muscle, that activity is inhibited. So vasodilators and or symphatolytics, these are the two different parts. The vasodilator generally they act directly on the blood vessels, they dilate the blood vessels. Symphatolytically, they are generally the indirect acting, they are responsible to inhibit the activity of adrenaline on alpha receptor and beta receptor, which are related in our syllabus. Now, what are the uses of vasodilators? So the if dilatation of vessels takes place, suppose this is vessels. Okay, so during the atherosclerosis, the formation of plaque or there is a deposition of cholesterol inside the vessel takes place. Okay, so due to this, the blood flowing through this, their force increases, their pressure increases because these plaques which are present in the vessels. In this way, the blood pressure increases, the workload on the heart increases, workload on the heart muscle increases. Okay, it results into the hypertension. But when we are dilating the vessels, now if these vessels, if their dilatation takes place, so this space increases, and the space, that is the internal diameter of these vessels, increases. More amount of blood can be flow through the vessels, and more amount of blood can be supplied to the heart. So what happens? Heart will get more amount of blood, hence the workload on the heart decreases. Blood does not forcefully passes through these vessels, so the blood pressure increases. So these vasodilators, ultimately they are responsible to decrease the hypertension. So they act as in the treatment of hypertension. They are also responsible in the treatment of heart failure. They are also given in the vascular diseases, Raynaud diseases, pulmonary hypertension. So such diseases, such symptoms, the vasodilators can be used. Now next part is the classifications of vasodilators and symphytolytics. Is that the vasodilators like hydralazine takes place. Then second one, potassium channel agonist, minoxidil. Then the symphytolytic system in that beta blockers and alpha blockers. Okay, so beta blockers, non-selective, selective beta 1 blockers, selective alpha 1 blockers, mixed alpha and beta blockers. Now you just go through symphytolytic drugs. They are non-selective, selective, mixed. So what is the difference between these selective, non-selective and mixed? Suppose a drug act on beta 1 receptor, it blocks the beta 1 receptor, and it does not act on any alpha receptor or any other beta receptor like beta 2. It acts only on beta 1 receptor, then you can say that the drug is selective beta 1 blocker. Okay, so the drugs selective beta 1 blockers, they only block the beta 1 receptor. They will not block beta 2 receptor or any other alpha receptor. Okay, now suppose a drug is act or will block beta 1 receptor, and somewhat it having the activity on beta 2 receptor. So they're having the activity on beta 1 plus beta 2. So the such drug is called as non-selective beta blockers. That means they can act on beta 1 as well as the beta 2 receptor. They will not act on alpha receptor. They will act only on the all the beta receptors or one or more than one beta receptor. So they becomes non-selective. Now the third part, that is the mixed alpha beta blockers. So the carvedilol, labetalol, these are the drugs which can act on alpha block, which act as beta blockers, that is alpha blockers and beta blockers. So they are having the activity on both alpha as well as the beta, so they are called as the mixed alpha beta blockers. So in this way the classification of these vasodilators or symphytolytic takes place. Vasodilators, hydralazine, potassium channel agonist, minoxidil. Then these are the symphytolytic drugs. Now we will start with the first drug, that is the hydralazine. It is a direct vasodilator. Okay, so this is the structure of hydralazine. So this is the hydrazine part. This is thalazine part. So the hydralazine is called as 1-hydrazine thalazine. This is thalazine, this is hydrazine, so 1-hydrazine thalazine. It is the first orally active antihypertensive drug which is marketed. Now we'll move to their mechanism of action. So until now the mechanism of action is hydralazine is not certain that this can act by this mechanism. We cannot say. Sometimes it may act by one mechanism, sometimes it may act by second mechanism. But the dilation of artery or how it dilates the artery, that mechanism is remain uncertain. But it is there are some evidence that it can act by different ways. So one of the way is that they are responsible to inhibit release of calcium, which is induced by the IP3 DAX system, in that IP3 inositol triphosphate. So hydralazine is responsible to inhibit inositol triphosphate induced release of calcium from intracellular storage. So if the concentration of calcium decreases, then it is difficult for the heart muscles to undergo the contraction process, because for the muscles to be contract it requires the calcium ions, and due to the inhibition of their storage it is difficult to get the calcium ions for the contraction of heart muscles. So it diminishes the contraction as the intracellular calcium ion decreases. So this hydrazine promotes dilatation by opening the calcium activated potassium channel, and also it releases the nitric oxide, which is the directly acting vasodilators. Okay, already we have seen the its mechanism of action, how the nitric oxide works in angina pectoris. So I will not repeat here. You should know only they are responsible to release nitric oxide, which are responsible for the vasodilators. Note that it does not relax venous smooth muscles. Now the second drug, that is the minoxidil, that is the potassium channel agonist. The drug minoxidil is discovered in 1965. This is the structure of minoxidil. Okay, so actually minoxidil having the its usefulness in the treatment of hair loss. Generally, the drugs minoxidil is given for the patient to grow the hairs on the bald areas. Okay, it also acts as antihypertensive drug, that is in the treatment of hypertension. Okay, but the minoxidil is not an active drug; it is a prodrug. For the activation of minoxidil, it has to be converted into the active drug, and this active drug is converted with the help of enzyme sulfotransferase. So this sulfotransferase converts the prodrug minoxidil into the minoxidil NO sulfate. So here you are getting NO. Okay, so I will just draw this NO remain as it is, and here the sulfate formation takes place, that is the double bond O, double bond O, and here comes OH. So on this oxygen there is a binding of HSO3 takes place, that is the sulfate group takes place, which is the active form of drug minoxidil. The minoxidil is the prodrug. It undergo sulfation reaction by the sulfotransferase to the active drug, that is the sulfate drug, as minoxidil NO and over sulfate group. So it is called as minoxidil NO sulfate. Okay. So what is the role of this minoxidil, or how it act as an antihypertensive agent? So it is a potassium channel agonist. Okay. Now in case of potassium channel, so potassium is remain inside the cell. So it is the intracellular ions, and outside there is the presence of positive charge species. Okay. So when the potassium channel agonist is given like minoxidil, it opens the potassium channels and efflux of potassium takes place from intracellular into the extracellular. So when efflux takes place outside the cell, there is a positive charge which increases due to the efflux of potassium, and inside potassium is released, so negative charge increases. So in this way the potential difference between the extracellular part and intracellular part, it is increase, and it is called as hyperpolarization, and this hyperpolarization is responsible for the relaxation of स्मूथ मसल्स. लक्षात आलं. सो आतमध्ये निगेटिव्ह चार्ज असतो, बाहेर मध्ये पॉझिटिव्ह चार्ज असतो, आणि के पोटॅशियम आयन हे इंट्रासेल्युलर आयन्स आहे. सो व्हेन potassium channel agonists are given, it opens potassium channel, so the influx of potassium takes place outside the cell. So outside the cell the positive charge increases. As the positive charge goes outside, inside the cell negative charge increases, so the potential difference increases. It results into the hyperpolarization, and it results into the relaxation of smooth muscles. So relaxation of heart muscles takes place. Okay. So in this way, they are useful in the treatment of hypertension. So this is the second drug, minoxidil. Now next part, antiadrenergic drug. So antiadrenergic, they are either alpha blockers or the beta blockers, which are given as a symphytolytic drugs, which are indirectly dilates the vessels. Okay. So alpha blockers, they are also classified into alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, out of which for our syllabus point of view, we should know what is alpha 1 receptor. So the alpha 1 receptor are present in the smooth muscles, liver and salivary gland. So in salivary gland, they are responsible for the secretion. Here they are responsible for the glycogenolysis. But in case of smooth muscles, they are responsible for the contraction of smooth muscles. So the contraction of blood vessels takes place. So the alpha 1 receptor is responsible for the contraction of blood vessels. लक्षात आलं? And if you have to dilate the blood vessels, what you have to do? You have to give alpha 1 receptor blockers. Okay, got the points? Alpha 1 receptor is present in the smooth muscle, which is responsible for the contraction. So if we are giving the alpha 1 receptor blocker, it will block the alpha 1 receptor. So there is no contraction of smooth muscles, there is no contraction of the blood vessels. So ultimately it will result into the blood dilation. Sorry, blood dilatation. Now, through which mechanism these alpha and beta receptor act? So when adrenaline bind to the beta receptor, they activates adenyl cyclases, which are responsible for the conversion of ATP into the cyclic AMP, and this cyclic AMP activates protein kinase. Protein kinase causes the phosphorylation, and ultimately it will result into the activation of calcium binding proteins, and it will causes the contraction. Similarly, alpha 1 receptor, it also responsible to release protein kinase and calcium. So the kinase is responsible for the phosphorylation. Along with the calcium, they are responsible for the contraction of smooth muscle. So this alpha 1 receptor acts through the phospholipase C enzyme, which is responsible to convert into the IP3 DAX system, that is the inositol triphosphate and diacyl glycerol. Okay, but if you observe alpha 2, here negative, negative, negative is written. That means they are responsible for the inhibition of adenyl cyclase. So there is no formation of cyclic AMP, no formation of protein kinase. So it will causes the dilatation of blood vessels, or it will not causes the contraction. So in case of antihypertensive drug, you can give beta blocker, alpha blocker, and alpha 2 agonist, because this activity is opposite to the activity of beta receptor. So beta receptor causes contraction, alpha 2 receptor causes inhibit the contraction or relaxation. Okay, so if it is relaxing the smooth muscles, we no need to give the antagonist, you can give the alpha 2 agonist. So beta blockers, alpha 1 blockers, or alpha 2 agonist. What is symphytolytic drugs, which decreases the sympathetic activity, which blocks the interaction of norepinephrine or adrenaline agonist with the receptors. So these drugs, they are called as antiadrenergic drugs, symphytolytic drugs, adrenergic blocking agents, or adrenergic blockers. Now classification into alpha antagonist and beta antagonist. Alpha antagonist, again non-selective. In non-selective, they are again classified into reversible and irreversible. For our point of view, our syllabus point of view, we have selective alpha 1 antagonist, that is the quinazoline ring structure as a lead molecule. So prozosine, terazosin is there for your syllabus. Then selective alpha 2 antagonist is there. Example yohimbine, it is not there for our syllabus. Then beta antagonists, they are classified into selective, non-selective, and mix. So non-selective, selective beta 1 antagonist, and mix alpha beta antagonist. So these two drugs which are mixed, labetalol, carvedilol, there is for our syllabus. This beta antagonist is also there for our syllabus. Non-selective like propranolol, nonolol is there also for our syllabus. Okay, now we move to the next part, beta blockers. So this is the general structure of beta blocker.